Hello again, horror fans. Well, our look at the Halloween franchise continues on with Halloween H20, 20 years later. On October 29th, 1998, Dr. Stan Loomis's former colleague Marion Chambers returns home to Langdon, Illinois, to find that her house had been burglarized. Her teenage neighbor Jimmy Howell and his friend Tony call the police. Howell decides to inspect the house and finds that no one is inside. Marion discovers that the file on Laurie Strode, who is presumed dead in an automobile accident and is Michael Myers' sister, is missing. She immediately rushes back over to Howell's house, where she finds him and Tony dead. No! Michael Myers suddenly appears and attacks Marion before slitting her throat, killing her. The police arrive just as Michael leaves the house with Laurie's file. Detectives Fitzsimmons and Sampson discuss what they know about Loomis's file. Having survived the explosion at Haddonfield Memorial Hospital in 1978, Loomis was under Marion's care at this house before dying, presumably from natural causes. However, even after nearly 20 years, Loomis refused to believe that Michael was dead, and devoted the rest of his life to studying all information about his former patient. The two investigators then enter his private study, completely untouched by Michael's burglary, and find that the walls are covered with photographs, sketches, and newspaper articles about Michael, from the murder of his sister Judith to the murders in 1978, as well as articles on Laurie Strode. Meanwhile, in California, Laurie is living a seemingly perfect life, having faked her death to avoid Michael, with her teenage son John and his girlfriend Molly Cartwell, and has a career as headmistress of Hillcrest Academy under the name Carrie Tate, a private boarding school where John attends. Laurie is also in a relationship with Hillcrest guidance counselor Will Brennan. However, Laurie is far from happy, as the tragic events from 1978 still haunt her and lives in fear that her brother may return. Laurie has tried to get her life together with the hope that Michael would never come after her again. While a woman and her daughter are at a rest stop, the two narrowly avoid Michael, who steals the woman's car. At the Academy campus, the students leave for an overnight field trip to Yosemite National Park, leaving only Laurie, Brennan, security guard Ronnie Jones, and John and Molly and their friends Charlie Devereaux and his girlfriend Sarah Wainthrop, who are having a Halloween party in the school basement. Michael drives the car to the gates of Hillcrest and then abandons it. When Ronnie opens the gate to check on the car, Michael sneaks in. Michael briefly stalks Ronnie before going into the building. Charlie goes off into the kitchen and is killed by Michael. Sarah finds Charlie's body and tries to escape via the dumbwaiter, but Michael savagely crushes her leg before stabbing her to death, hanging her from a light. Laurie admits to Brennan her true identity before realizing Michael has arrived at Hillcrest. Brennan and Laurie go in search of John and Molly, only for Brennan to shoot Ronnie, who had been patrolling the hallway, under the belief that he is Michael. Michael then appears and stabs Brennan, lifting him into the air. John and Molly go searching for their friends and are pursued by Michael through the school grounds. Laurie saves them as Michael corners them. Eventually, he and Laurie come face to face for the first time in 2 decades. Laurie manages to get John and Molly to safety before deciding to return to the school to face Michael once and for all. Laurie attacks Michael and stabs him numerous times before pushing him over a balcony. She prepares to stab him a second time, but a still alive Ronnie, who has only been grazed by the bullet, convinces her to stop. The authorities arrive at the scene and Michael is loaded into an ambulance. Laurie steals the ambulance with his body. Michael reanimates and attacks Laurie, who swerves and drives the ambulance off the road. Michael tumbles and is pinned between the ambulance and a fence post. He reaches out to Laurie, wordlessly pleading for help, and Laurie approaches him warily. She seems to consider helping him, but looks into his eyes and abruptly reconsiders, and decapitates Michael with a fire axe, finally killing him. Police sirens are heard off in the distance as Laurie exhales with relief. Well, yeah, that was interesting, I guess. So it looks at the production of this movie. The screenplay was based on a story by Kevin Williamson, and the story was situated as a sequel to the previous 6 films, thereby keeping the timeline's continuity. However, the screenplay was developed by Robert Zappia and Matt Greenberg to function as an alternate timeline, in which the previous 3 installments never happened, and the Jamie Lloyd character, her daughter, never existed. When Williamson first outlined Halloween H20, he created the storyline in which Laurie Strode has faked her own death and taken a new identity as a specific way of retconning the character's death in Halloween 4. In Williamson's original treatment, there are scenes in which a Hillcrest student does a report on Michael Myers' killing spree, mentioning the death of Jamie, complete with flashbacks to 4 to 6 mentioned in the text. Carrie/Laurie responds to hearing the student's report on the death of her daughter by going into a restroom and throwing up. Ugh, that would have been gross. In a controversial decision, director Steve Miner retconned the series with Halloween H20. This installment retained Laurie's fake death from Williams' treatment, revealing she did so in order to avoid detection by her relentless brother. Under a new identity, Laurie has fled to Summer Glen, California, along with her only son, John Tate. However, to focus more on the Laurie Strode character, the events of parts 4, 5, and 6 are written out of the continuity, thus erasing the Jamie Lloyd character from canon. Aw, man! Loomis's legacy is explored in Halloween H20, where Myers attacks Loomis's retirement home and Marion Chambers, the nurse who cared for him in his final years. During the prologue credits, the voice of Dr. Loomis is heard giving the same speech he gave to Sheriff Brackett when they were inside Michael's abandoned childhood home in the original film. Audio clips from Halloween were initially considered when playing his monologue. However, instead of the voice of Donald Pleasance himself, sound-alike voice actor Tom Kane provides his voiceover. John Carpenter was originally in the running to be the director for this particular follow-up, since credits wanted to reunite the cast and for the crew of the original to have active involvement in it. It was believed that Carpenter opted out because he wanted no part in the sequel. However, this was not the case. Carpenter agreed to direct the film, but demanded a 3-picture deal with Dimension Films. Carpenter's bargain was denied by the Weinsteins, and therefore no deal took place. Screenwriter/producer Kevin Williamson was involved in various areas of production. Although not directly credited, he provided rewrites in character and dialogue and helped make alterations in sketches of the script. He also came up with the paramedic storyline that explained how Michael survived the ending, which was partially filmed the day after principal photography ended and later utilized in the film's sequel. The original working title for the film was Halloween 7, The Revenge of Laurie Strode. Oh, that would have been such a cool title. Now let's look at the music. The original music score was composed by John Ottman, but some music from Scream was added to the chase scenes later on during post-production. Ottman expressed some displeasure about this action in an interview featured on the Halloween 25 Years of Terror DVD released in 2006. Ottman's score was supplemented with the Marco Beltrami scores from Scream, Scream 2, and Mimic by a team of music editors, as well as new cues by Beltrami during the final days of sound mixing on the film. Dimension Films chief Bob Weinstein demanded the musical changes after being dissatisfied with Ottman's score. The song, What's This Life For, by the music group Creed was featured in the film during a party sequence and is also heard during the credits of the film. No official soundtrack was ever released for the film, but a compilation album by Ottman was released in the United States and Germany under the Verse Sarabande label and includes the original score by Ottman and numerous other cuts. That's interesting. So I say this movie is pretty darn good, and the fact that it's a follow-up to the first 2 movies is actually pretty interesting. Although again, with the new one coming out, that's basically a follow-up to the original film 40 years later, so there's that. So overall, I give Halloween H20, 20 years later, 4 jack-o'-lanterns out of 5. Well, join me tomorrow as we take a look at Halloween Resurrection. So, until then, peace out, everybody.